Now, Brett, obviously Dana isn't the biggest fan of Ariel Helwani, who's your
He's
colleague
not.
now. Oh, is this breaking
He's
news to
not.
you?
What happened? What happened there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now he's your colleague now at ESPN, so you kind of reap the benefits there, as Dana is almost always going to come to you with the breaking news, right or wrong?
Sure. Well, that no, there is some definite truth to that. Here's how I look at that, and I'll be honest. Like I don't want people to think that Dana doesn't like Ariel, so he then comes to me. I think that there is some absolute truth that I benefit from, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you and lie to you and say that I don't. But I think that Ariel and Dana could. I don't know if they can ever fix what's going on between them. I don't think that that's really my business. I don't really root for or against that. I mean, I know that I've covered this sport, like I just told you, since UFC '98. I live in Las Vegas. I've interviewed Dana a billion times, before the UFC was ever on ESPN. And now there is a partnership there between UFC and ESPN. And I can tell just from Dana, but also just the organization as a whole. They want to work with ESPN, and they want to. The conversations have changed, and they're more frequent, and this or that. But I really wouldn't say that my relationship has changed with Dana all that much from even Ariel joining ESPN. I want to have a relationship with Dana White and with any source really that is completely independent of any other journalist out there. And while I will acknowledge that Dana's and Ariel's beef, I guess, is probably good for me, I don't really look at it that way. I as a journalist, I find sources, I cultivate them, I form relationships. I cover this sport, and regardless, I guess, of what else is going on between anybody else.
So why do you think you've been able to maintain a good relationship with Dana and the UFC as opposed to the friction between Dana and Ariel? Is it just Ariel? Is it just him and Dana's? They just don't click, or you're just such a good dude?
Well, I think it's about.
I can tell you're a good dude.
Wait, no, but I would say, and Brett,
Thank you, Matt.
you could agree or disagree with me. There is a certain thing called embargo that I think fans have to realize sometimes too. They spend a lot of money on advertising and things like that, and then if you break a story, it's like ruin somebody's surprise party. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that was a big part of it, but Brett, do you agree or disagree? It's kind of sometimes it's an embargo issue.
No, I don't. Embargoes are kind of a weird thing, I mean, so here's the thing.
Because
so
breaking
if
a story
comes,
or not break a story, or how does that work?
If someone comes to me with a story that I had no idea was going to happen, I'm sitting in my pajamas in my home office, and I have not done, any work or any kind of conversations about a particular thing, right? And someone comes to me and says, "Hey, this is going to happen. We want you to know about it, but we don't want you to write it right now. Because for whatever reason, like maybe it's not completely finished, or there's still kind of some leeway where it could fall apart, or with the situation you just brought up of like maybe there's some marketing into it.
Yeah.
Here's the information, but don't write it yet." If I knew nothing about it, then I can't just turn around and say, "Oh, I'm running with this right now." I don't think that that's being ethical. But if I hear about something and I make some phone calls and I find out that it's true, and someone says, "Hey, we have this planned, or we're gonna do this or that, and we would prefer you not hold it," I'm probably not going to hold it, because that's not journalism either.
Sure.
So that's how embargo is. Sometimes in this industry, someone comes to you with something that you didn't know anything about, and I think at that point you can't just run with it. But
Right.
if I'm tracking down a story, or if I'm finding something that maybe someone doesn't want out there, or whatever, if I get the story and it's accurate, and someone's asking me not to run it, but I have it on my own, then I'm going to run it. That's how it works.
But do you reach out to Dana when you have an idea if fight might be happening, or no? Is that one of the phone calls you make? Or?
I do, yeah. I reach out to Dana pretty constantly. I mean, he's one of the guys that I do bug a lot, and Dana's been very generous with his time, and he gets back to me, and there are times where he says that no, that's I'm wrong, and this what I'm hearing is inaccurate, and there are times when he's like, yeah, that's true, and you can confirm, and he'll confirm it for me, and then when I write a report, I'll say that Dana White confirmed it, so yeah, I'm constantly reaching out to Dana. I don't know why you wouldn't. I mean, in this job covering this sport, I would imagine that that's part of the job, is to reach out to Dana on a frequent basis. And I happen to have a good enough relationship with him where he actually gets back most of the time, not every time, but he'll get back quite a bit.
Brett, it's really interesting and kind of awesome to talk to you because we're getting a different perspective that the fans, I think you can kind of let people know how difficult or how intricate being a journalist is, just in sports in general. And with journalism, there's times where certain stories are opinion pieces and certain stories are factual pieces. So I was wondering, when do you use what? When do you make it an opinion piece, and when are you just sticking straight to the facts?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because for a long time at ESPN, I was the only person who was really putting together content on MMA, so I kind of had to do both. I would say the thing about that is you have to do one or the other, and you have to make it very clear which one you're doing. You can't blur the two. So, I tend to kind of stay on the straight and narrow. That's just more my style. I like to just present people the facts and, let them come to the conclusions themselves. But I have opinions, of course. I've covered the sport for a while now. And, so yeah, if I have an opinion, I'll write it. And ESPN is great about, not really forcing me to. If I don't have an opinion on something, they're not like, well, hey, make one up because we need something right now. But they're also great about, them saying, hey, if you have an opinion, then yeah, we'll take it, go ahead and write it for us. So I kind of have the best of both worlds. Again, I'll credit ESPN to that they're just open to having me. They want me to write whatever is the best content, and so if that's news, then I'll write that. And if I have an opinion on something strong, then I'll do that as well.
I ask you this question because you are actually one of my favorite journalists, and I'm happy to have you on. And one of the reasons you are my favorite is because when I go to you or I see something with your name on it, I know that it's coming from a reputable source. So just so that the fans can understand.
That's the best compliment that you can give a journalist, so thank you.
It's true. It's you and Mark Ramundi are the two people that I'm like, yeah, I trust that they did work here. Can you talk a little bit about the work you put in to get a source before you even write anything down and send it out?
Yeah, it's not rocket science. It's really just bugging people. I work from home, which is nice. I get out of bed, I walk across the hallway, and I'm in my office.
So you're writing a lot of the stuff in your pajamas?
I try to put on actual clothes. It makes me feel more awake. It makes me feel more professional, even though the only person that sees me at any time is my dog. But I usually try to put on pants. It just makes me feel more productive, even though I'm sitting in my home. But yeah, it's fun though. It's fun calling people, and it's fun talking to them about the fights. It's fun talking to them about what they want, what the promotion wants, whether it's, UFC, Bellator, or anybody else. And the way a fight comes together is actually pretty interesting a lot of times. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's easy as, two guys it makes sense to matchmake them. They're both healthy. They both want to fight at a certain date. Okay, cool, we have a fight. But other times there's people want certain things, or, they have a contract negotiation coming up, or they have a certain amount of number of fights on their deal. And there's conversations, and there's give and take, and there's, what date is it going to land? And that's always interesting. It's fun to talk to guys about what kind of fights are coming together before they actually come together. So I enjoy it, and hopefully all the people I'm calling enjoy talking to me, because like I said at the beginning, it's just a lot of bugging people and calling the same people over and over again. But, we all are involved in the sport because we love it and because we're kind of obsessed with it. So it works out.
Well, speaking of fun fights, I'm sure the Barboza and Gaethje fight, I'm sure you enjoyed that one.
Man, what I did on that one was, this year I've been watching a lot of the fights from the back. Unfortunately, I've been stuck in the tunnel, which is great because I get to interview these guys on camera, and it goes up onto the ESPN's YouTube or Sports Center or wherever it's going, and it's really an enjoyable part of my job is to talk to these guys and girls right when they come out of the octagon. That's where I want to be.
Yeah.
But it's the cutback on that is that I'm not in the arena anymore.
Yeah.
So occasionally this year I've snuck out in the arena a couple times. One time I did it for sure was when we were in London, and I wanted to see Darren Till walk out. Because he walked out to that song and the crowd and everything. I was like, I can't be stuck in the tunnel for that. And then in this last one, the co-main event wrapped up real quickly. Jack Hermanson was healthy. He didn't have to go through a lot of medicals. He just came straight to me. I talked to him, and I was like, dude, I'm going to go out, and I'm going to I'm gonna actually watch Gaethje Barboza from the arena. So it's funny that you bring that one up because that's one of the few fights this year I've actually snuck into the arena and watched it like with my own eyes instead of watching it on TV in the back, and it was amazing, man. It was what a fight.
You know, it lived up to the hype and then some. I mean, I expected a war. I was picking Gaethje by 4th round stoppage, and the way it went was just so violent and such a fun battle while it lasted.
We got to rethink a little bit about what we think about Gaethje, right?
Yes.
I mean, I was with you. I actually predicted 4th round too. I picked Gaethje, but I thought it might take a little while. But hey, man, these last 2 fights, he's put him out in the 1st round. I think he's making like these tiny little adjustments that he and Trevor Whitman, have gotten in the lab and in the gym and talked about. Well, what can we do just slightly better? I mean, you were in those fights with Eddie Alvarez and with Dustin Poirier, but let's learn from him a little bit. And man, in the last 2 fights, it seems like he's learned a little bit from those 2 fights.
Michelle Waterson is also really captivating to watch. Did you get to watch that live, or did you have to stay on watch it on TV?
Yeah, that one I watched from a screen in the back, but great performance by her. And then that's what I'm talking about. Is just such a joy to like be back there and have someone like Michelle Waterson come back, fresh off of the win, and you get to talk to her. You get to like get her raw thoughts about it, and she's still in the moment. And she was talking about how she ran into Carolina in the elevator at the hotel before they came to the arena. Like she was like getting in the mood. She was getting in the mindset. She got in the elevator, and it took her up instead of down. You know how that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
And then when it got there, the doors open, and Carolina was standing there waiting to take the elevator down, and they just laughed about it. They're like, what are the odds of this happening?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I watched that one from the back, but she gave me a good interview afterwards.